English Leap Podcast.
From Speak English with Class.
Hello, wonderful listeners. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the English Leap Podcast.
Hey everyone, it's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Jennifer. We're your hosts on this journey to mastering English.
That's right. Here at the English Leap Podcast, we believe that learning English should be practical and engaging.
Absolutely. We're all about lively conversations that help you improve your English skills.
Please join us as we take a moment to reflect on and discuss today's important topic.
Daniel, with all the news about Hurricane Milton lately, it really got me thinking. Have you ever experienced a severe storm?
You know, Jennifer, I actually have. A few years ago, I was visiting my hometown when a massive storm hit.
Ouch, what was it like?
Well, the wind was so strong it felt like the whole house was shaking. Trees were bending, and the rain was pouring down in sheets.
That sounds terrifying.
It was quite the experience. We lost power for 3 days and had to rely on candles and flashlights.
It's incredible how much we take electricity for granted until it's gone.
Exactly. But you know, with all the news about Hurricane Milton lately, it brings back those memories.
I was just thinking the same thing. Hurricane Milton has been a major event recently.
Yes, and it's impacted so many people's lives. I thought it would be important for us to talk about it today.
Agreed. Not only can we shed some light on what's happening, but we can also learn some new vocabulary related to hurricanes.
Perfect. Let's get started.
Oh, and before we continue, don't forget about the PDF for today's episode. It includes all the vocabulary, phrases, and extra tips we'll talk about today. Just click the link in the description to download it.
And later on, our friend Charlotte, our vocabulary expert, will join us to break down some key words and expressions, making them easy to understand and remember.
That's right. Charlotte will explain everything in a simple way. Trust me, you won't want to miss her segment. So let's talk about Hurricane Milton. It's been quite a storm, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Hurricane Milton has been one of the most powerful storms we've seen in recent years.
It all started as a small tropical disturbance off the west coast of Africa, right?
Yes, it began as a cluster of thunderstorms that moved over the warm Atlantic waters.
Warm ocean water is like fuel for hurricanes. It provides the energy they need to grow.
Exactly. As Milton traveled westward, it gained strength and became a tropical storm.
Then it intensified rapidly into a Category 4 hurricane.
Category 4 means the winds were between 130 and 156 miles per hour. That's incredibly strong.
Can you imagine winds that powerful? It's like having a constant roaring jet engine outside your window.
It's both fascinating and terrifying. Meteorologists, the weather scientists, were closely monitoring Milton's development.
They were. Satellite images showed the storm's eye becoming more defined, which is a sign of strengthening.
The eye of the hurricane is the calm center, surrounded by the eye wall where the most intense weather occurs.
Right. Initially, forecasts predicted that Milton might curve north and miss land altogether.
But then, due to changes in atmospheric conditions, it shifted direction toward the coast.
That must have been alarming for the people living in its path.
Indeed, coastal communities had to act fast to prepare.
You know, Daniel, when I think about Hurricane Milton and the impact it had, it's almost hard to wrap my head around. The scale of it all is just unimaginable.
It really is, Jennifer. There's a deep sadness when you see the places it hit hardest. It's like the heart of those communities has been torn out.
Absolutely. The destruction is just so vast. The storm was merciless, tearing through everything in its path with fierce anger.
Exactly. It left whole communities in ruins. So many homes and places were badly damaged.
And it wasn't just the homes. Power lines were knocked down too, leaving thousands in the dark for days.
Right. And it wasn't just power outages. The roads were flooded, blocked by debris. That made rescue efforts even more difficult.
The pictures of families displaced from their homes, communities torn apart. It's really hard to watch.
It is. And sadly, lives were lost too. That's the most painful part of all.
It really breaks my heart. Our thoughts are with everyone going through this right now.
Absolutely. And while we focus on the human impact, we can't forget the toll this took on the environment too.
Exactly. Wetlands, wildlife habitats, all severely disrupted. This damage goes deeper than just what we see on the surface.
And it's going to take years for nature to bounce back from something like this.
Even with all the destruction, though, I have to say it's inspiring to see the way people have come together. The emergency response teams have been incredible.
Oh, for sure. Local authorities acted fast, issuing evacuation orders before the storm even hit.
Yeah, and for those who might not know, evacuation means people were told to leave their homes to stay safe.
Exactly. And a lot of people found safety in shelters that were set up by the government and various charities.
And those emergency teams? They've been working around the clock.
Absolutely. You've got rescue teams using boats and helicopters to reach people who were stranded. It's amazing work.
And what's even more heartwarming is seeing volunteers coming in from all over the country to help out. That's the real spirit of community.
Yeah, it's moments like these that show just how strong people can be when they come together.
Definitely. But some concerns have been raised about whether the disaster preparedness plans were really up to the task for something this big.
I've heard that too. Unfortunately, some areas didn't get the warnings they needed in time. There's definitely room for improvement.
That's why communication is so key in situations like this.
Absolutely. If we can improve how we prepare and respond, we can save lives and minimize damage.
Speaking of preparation, Daniel, what do you think about how storms like Milton are getting more intense? It seems like hurricanes are getting stronger every year.
That's a great question, Jennifer. A lot of scientists are saying climate change is a major factor behind the increasing severity and frequency of these storms.
It makes sense with ocean temperatures rising. Warmer waters fuel stronger storms, right?
Exactly. And don't forget, rising sea levels make storm surges even more dangerous.
It feels like Hurricane Milton is a sign of these changes we're starting to see, right in front of us.
No doubt about it. It's a wake-up call. We need to take climate change seriously because storms like this aren't going away.
And we all play a role, don't we? Even small changes can help.
Totally. Things like using less energy, recycling more. These small actions add up.
You nailed it, Daniel. As we were talking about Hurricane Milton earlier, I couldn't stop thinking about some of the amazing stories coming out of the affected areas.
Same here. The bravery and resilience of people. It's been so inspiring to hear about.
People like those who stayed behind during the storm to take care of others, those rescuing families trapped in their homes, and volunteers who organized support for those in need.
That's the spirit that gets communities through tough times. Everyone pitching in, doing whatever they can.
Exactly. These stories show us the human side of these disasters, and they remind us of the power of compassion and unity.
But beyond the personal stories, we can't forget about the economic toll this hurricane has left behind.
Yeah, rebuilding after something like this is no small feat. So many businesses have been destroyed, and it's going to take a long time for them to recover.
Local shops, restaurants, they're all struggling just to get back on their feet.
And it's not just the business owners who are hurting. Their employees are now out of work, with no income coming in.
It's tough for everyone. Insurance companies are dealing with more claims than they can handle.
And some people didn't even have insurance, which is just heartbreaking.
The real estate market's been hit hard too. Property values have plummeted in the wake of the storm.
It's going to be a long road to recovery. A lot of patience and resilience will be needed.
Speaking of resilience, have you noticed how the media has been covering all this?
Oh, for sure. It's been all over the news. And social media? It's just nonstop updates, photos, videos, people sharing in real time.
It's been helpful in a lot of ways, keeping people informed and connected, but we've got to be careful. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
Exactly. It's so important to check facts before sharing anything online. It's easy to spread false info in moments like these.
Overall, though, the media has done a great job of bringing attention to the areas in need.
And the public's response has been overwhelming. Donations, supplies, people are really stepping up to help.
It's always heartwarming to see that kind of generosity during times of crisis.
Absolutely. It reminds us that even in the hardest times, people are capable of so much kindness.
But it also raises an important question. What lessons can we learn from Hurricane Milton?
One important lesson is the need for better emergency planning. While the response has been admirable, we have to ask ourselves if we could have done more to prepare. Were there enough shelters? Did people have access to the right information early enough to evacuate safely?
Yes, having clear evacuation routes and plans is crucial. In some cases, evacuation orders came late, or people didn't know where to go. Making sure that people know what to do and where to go in advance can save lives.
And then there's the issue of infrastructure. Improving the infrastructure to withstand storms can save lives and reduce damage. For example, stronger buildings, flood defenses, and even better drainage systems could prevent the kind of widespread destruction we've seen.
Exactly. Coastal areas in particular need to be designed to resist the power of these storms. If we can strengthen homes, roads, and power grids, we can limit the damage.
Early warning systems also need to be effective. Technology has improved, but there are still gaps in communication. Getting information to people as quickly as possible can be the difference between life and death.
And educating people on how to prepare is essential. People need to know how to respond to a storm, whether it's evacuating or preparing their homes for the worst. More public awareness campaigns could really help.
But beyond the immediate lessons, we also need to think about the bigger picture: climate change. Some scientists say it could be making hurricanes stronger and more frequent.
That's a point that's hard to ignore. Warmer ocean temperatures and rising sea levels seem to be contributing to the intensity of storms like Hurricane Milton. Addressing environmental issues might help reduce future disasters.
If we don't act on climate change, we could be facing more hurricanes of this magnitude in the future. It's a wake-up call that we need to take seriously. We all have a part to play in protecting our planet.
Even small actions, like reducing energy use, recycling, and supporting renewable energy, can make a difference. It's about making responsible choices now to protect the future.
Well said, Daniel. It's a collective responsibility, and we can all contribute. I hope we can learn from this disaster and be better prepared for the future.
Me too. It's important for everyone's safety, and we owe it to the next generation to make sure they inherit a safer, more resilient world.
Now, before we wrap up, let's bring in Charlotte for the vocabulary breakdown.
That's right. Charlotte will explain some of the key words and phrases we use today.
Thanks, Jennifer and Daniel. Hi, everyone. Let's go over a few keywords from today's conversation that can help you improve your English. Hurricane. Meaning, a powerful storm with strong winds and heavy rain. Example, Hurricane Milton caused severe damage to the coastal town. Tropical disturbance. Meaning, a weather system with organized thunderstorms, usually in the tropics, which can develop into a hurricane. Example, a tropical disturbance off the coast of Africa turned into a major hurricane within days. Storm surge. Meaning, an abnormal rise of water generated by a storm over and above the predicted tides. Example, the storm surge from the hurricane caused severe flooding in coastal areas. Meteorologists. Meaning, scientists who study weather and climate. Example, meteorologists closely monitored the storm as it approached the coast. Eye of the hurricane. Meaning, the calm center of a hurricane surrounded by the most intense part of the storm. Example, the eye of the hurricane passed directly over the city, bringing a brief period of calm. Eye wall. Meaning, the area surrounding the eye of the storm where the most intense wind and rain occur. Example, the eye wall brought powerful winds and torrential rain to the region. Atmospheric conditions. Meaning, the state of the atmosphere at a given time, including factors like temperature, wind, and pressure that affect weather. Example, due to changing atmospheric conditions, the storm shifted unexpectedly. Unimaginable. Meaning, impossible to think of or comprehend, beyond what one can imagine. Example, the level of destruction caused by the hurricane was almost unimaginable. Showed no mercy. Meaning, to be extremely severe or harsh without showing compassion or restraint. Example, the storm showed no mercy as it tore through the coastal towns. Displaced. Meaning, forced to leave one's home, typically because of a disaster or conflict. Example, thousands of people were displaced after the hurricane destroyed their homes. Toll, meaning the cost or damage caused by something, especially a disaster. Example, the environmental toll of the storm will take years to recover from. Bounce back, meaning to recover from a difficult situation or setback. Example, it will take time for the community to bounce back after the storm. Evacuation, meaning the process of moving people from a dangerous area to a safer place. Example, evacuation orders were given as the hurricane approached the coast. Rescue teams, meaning groups of people trained to save others from dangerous situations. Example, rescue teams used helicopters to airlift people stranded by the floodwaters. Wake-up call, meaning an event that alerts people to a problem or the need for action. Example, Hurricane Milton is a wake-up call for us to take climate change seriously. Selflessness, meaning concern for the well-being of others before oneself, being unselfish. Example, the nurse's selflessness during the hurricane was an inspiration to everyone. Economic toll, meaning the financial damage or loss caused by an event, such as a natural disaster. Example, the economic toll of the hurricane will be felt for years as businesses struggle to rebuild. Plummeted, meaning to fall or drop sharply. Example, after the storm, property values plummeted, leaving many homeowners in financial distress. Resilience, meaning the ability to recover quickly from difficulties or challenges. Example, the resilience of the community was evident as they began to rebuild after the storm. Power outages, meaning a period when electrical power is not available. Example, the storm caused widespread power outages, leaving thousands without electricity. Working around the clock, meaning working continuously, day and night without stopping. Example, emergency response teams have been working around the clock to help those affected by the hurricane. Stranded, meaning left in a difficult or helpless situation, unable to leave or move. Example, many people were stranded in their homes as floodwaters rose around them. Debris, meaning scattered pieces of waste, remains, or broken material, usually after something has been destroyed. Example, after the hurricane, the streets were filled with debris from fallen trees and damaged buildings. So that wraps up all the key phrases and vocabulary from today's conversation. I hope you found it helpful.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. That was very helpful.
Yes, we appreciate it. Expanding your vocabulary is key to learning English.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode.
We hope you found our conversation both interesting and useful.
Don't forget to download the PDF with all the vocabulary and notes from today's show.
We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave us feedback.
And make sure to subscribe for more episodes of the English Leap podcast.
Thank you for tuning in.
Until next time, keep practicing and stay curious.
Take care, everyone, and keep leaping towards your English goals.
Your progress doesn't end here. To continue advancing your English skills, click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've thoughtfully selected for you.